I never thought I'd be in a spot like this. I always believed in honesty, in loyalty, thought I knew my wife better than anyone else in this world. But then, a few nights ago, everything shattered. I found out she'd been cheating on me with her boss. Not just a kiss or some affair of the moment. They'd been seeing each other for months. That's when I started to feel the ground slipping beneath my feet, like the very foundation of what I believed in was crumbling. It started with little things. Little signs I ignored because I didn't want to admit they might mean something. I'd come home and find her unusually distracted, her phone always in her purse, her stories suddenly more vague. She'd make excuses, but her eyes, those same eyes I used to trust, held something else now. I'd catch her sneaking glances at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I told myself it was just work stress or maybe a new hobby, anything but the truth. But I knew. Deep down, I knew. I just didn't want to admit it yet. Things came to a head when I saw her phone light up late one night. A message pop up from some guy I didn't recognize. The words were innocuous enough, "Can't wait to see you again," that sort of thing. But it was the tone, the timing. She was acting nervous, hurried to hide it. I felt my stomach tighten, that sick, sinking feeling in my gut. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I had to know for sure. So I waited. I waited until she was out of the house the next day, and then I snuck into her office. That's when I saw the messages on her work computer. Not just one or two, dozens. The kind of conversations where they're clearly more than just colleagues. Flirty comments, suggestive talk, plans to meet outside work hours. My chest went cold. I couldn't breathe right. My palms turned clammy and I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. I took screenshots, saved the evidence, then quietly slipped out and sat in the car for a long moment trying to process what I'd just seen. My mind reeled. How could she do this? How could she lie to my face all these months? We'd been talking about starting a family, planning that trip to Italy, making promises about forever. And now I knew she'd been lying right through all of it. I could feel the anger start to bubble up, hot and thick, replacing the shock. That's when I realized this wasn't just about the affair. It was about everything, every little lie we told ourselves, every moment I refused to see the truth out of fear or denial. She was supposed to be my partner, my best friend, and she had betrayed that trust in the worst way possible. I looked at the evidence on my phone. It was real. More than just a fling, they'd been planning to hide it, to keep it secret from everyone. She was pregnant now, that's what she told me during a shaky phone call. I could hear the trembling in her voice, the way she kept saying it's a miracle, but I could also hear the lie behind her words. This was her way out, her escape route from whatever mess she'd created with her boss. Now I don't know what to believe anymore. Part of me wants to scream, to break something, to make her feel as betrayed as I do. But another part, more dangerous, knows I have. To be smarter, I need to plan my move. If she's hiding a pregnancy, then she's planning something bigger. I have to be ready for whatever comes next. I've hit that point where I can't pretend anymore. The mask is gone. I see her clearly now, and I don't like what I see. I've been betrayed, and I'm not going to sit around while she tries to spin this into some kind of miracle story. No, if she thinks she can just come back and pretend everything's fine, she's dead wrong. I need to do something, but I have to be careful. This isn't just about hurt feelings anymore. It's about setting my boundaries and maybe, just maybe, getting some kind of justice. That's where I am right now. Sitting here, steeling myself for what's next. I don't have the full picture yet, but I know this isn't over. Not by a long shot. I spent the next couple of days trying to piece everything together. Honestly, it was like walking around in a fog. My head kept spinning, trying to make sense of what I'd seen and heard. I couldn't shake the image of her sneaking around behind my back, the way her voice sounded when she told me she was pregnant. She sounded nervous, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. I could still hear it echoing in my ears. "It's a miracle," she'd said, like she was trying to sell herself on the lie. I didn't tell anyone, not yet. I needed to keep my head clear, to stay a step ahead. I didn't want her to catch wind that I knew, not until I had a plan. So I reasoned, I strategized, and I let the anger simmer. Because that's what it was, pure, unfiltered rage. The kind that slowly builds up and takes over everything if you don't control it. I felt it in my jaw, clenched tight, whenever I thought about her smile, her touch, all those moments I'd trusted her and she'd just thrown them away. One thing I did do, though, was go through her things when she wasn't home. Call it paranoia or whatever, but I needed proof, something concrete I could hold in my hands. Her drawers, her closet, her purse. I found her phone hidden behind some makeup in her bag. I unlocked it. I had to. I knew. I shouldn't have, but I was desperate for truth. What I saw made my stomach turn. Hundreds of texts, flirty, suggestive, explicit. Not just from her boss, but from other guys she'd been talking to for months. It was like some secret web of lies she'd spun, and I'd been blind to it. The worst part was the way she'd been lying to me, with her voice, her touch, pretending everything was perfect. I could feel the heat rising to my face, that sick feeling bubbling in my chest again. I clenched my fists so tight my nails bit into my palms. I wanted to smash something, scream at her through the wall, but I kept calm. I knew I had to be smart. I sat there reading her messages and thought, I need leverage. Something she won't be able to deny even if she tries. That's when I remembered the small ledger she kept, details of her expenses, her schedule, some of her secret plans. I checked her emails next, digging through her work account. There, buried deep in her drafts, was a message from her boss confirming their meeting tomorrow night. She scheduled it with a tone of excitement, like she was planning her escape. The words made my blood boil. I could see her intentions clearly now. She was preparing to leave. I knew I couldn't confront her just yet. Not until I had my ducks in a row. I needed to keep her off balance, to make her believe I didn't know. That's when I started putting my revenge plan together. I wanted to make her regret every lie, every betrayal. I wanted her to feel the same sick feeling I'd felt when I first found out, betrayed, humiliated, trapped. In the meantime, I went to a lawyer. I needed to understand my rights, what I could do if she tried to pull something crazy. The guy was straightforward. She might try to claim she was pregnant and that she was doing what's best for the baby. But I knew better now. I knew she was capable of anything. I also found out that her boss had a reputation, one that I could use if I wanted to stir the pot. That's when I finally decided enough was enough. She played her hand. I was going to play mine. I'd keep quiet for now, gather everything I needed. When the moment came, she'd wish she'd never crossed me. All I knew was, I was no longer the naive husband who believed in fairy tales. The girl I married was gone, replaced by someone who's willing to burn everything down to save her own ass. And I was about to make damn sure she paid for it. Over the next few days, I kept my cool on the surface, but inside, I was like a storm waiting to break free. I didn't want her to know I'd uncovered enough to bring her down. Every move she made, I watched her closely. She was tense, jittery even, as if she knew her house of cards was about to fall. She'd leave her phone around more often, probably trying to test my patience, or maybe hoping I'd slip up. One night I caught her in the act. She was in the kitchen, pretending to be normal, but her eyes darted around nervously. I knew she was hiding something. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, and looked at her with a cold stare. She froze for a second, then tried to smile, but the cracks were obvious. "Are you hiding something from me?" I asked, voice even but steady. "Because I've seen enough to know you're not the person I thought I married." She looked away, fiddling with a spoon. "You're overreacting," she mumbled. "It's not what you think." "Oh, really?" I stepped closer, feeling the burn of anger in my chest. I saw the messages, the plans, the lies. Don't even bother denying it anymore. Her face paled. She was cornered, and I saw the panic flash in her eyes. That's when I decided to lay my cards on the table. No more hiding, no more pretending. I pulled out my phone, showing her the screenshots of her own words, her secret plans. Her lips trembled, and for a moment she looked like she might break down. "Who is he?" I asked, voice trembling slightly with a mix of rage and hurt. "And what about the baby?" She swallowed hard, finally cracking. "It's true I'm pregnant, but it's not what you think, I swear." "Oh, I think I know exactly what's going on," I said, voice low and dangerous. "You're leaving, aren't you, with him? That's why you're so nervous, trying to keep me quiet." She looked like she wanted to collapse, tears welling up. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was confused, scared. I didn't know what to do. I felt my fists clenched so tightly, my nails dug into my palms. I hated how weak she looked, how helpless she tried to seem. But I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. I was done playing the fool. "Tell me how I'm supposed to believe you now," I said through clenched teeth. "Because I've seen enough. You want to walk away, fine. but I'm not going down without a fight." The words felt heavy like stones crushing my chest. I could see her trembling, the guilt weighing down on her. This wasn't just a betrayal, it was a war, and I was ready to fight. That night, I stayed awake, planning. I knew I had to act fast. I'd already contacted a lawyer, but I also had my own secret weapon, one that would turn her own lies against her. I started to draft a plan that would make her regret ever crossing me. I wanted her to feel the same gut-wrenching pain I'd felt when I saw her with her boss. I was done waiting. It was time to strike. I knew her next move, and I was ready to meet her on her own turf. Whatever was coming, I'd be prepared. And she'd learn that betrayal has consequences. The hardest part, keeping my anger in check, hiding my resolve behind a calm exterior. But I knew deep down this was only the beginning. And I was about to take control of the story, my story, and she was no longer the one calling the shots. The night I decided to execute my revenge plan, the adrenaline was like a jolt through my veins. I stayed up late, going over every detail, every possible outcome. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done, to understand that betrayal doesn't come without consequences. I'd already gathered some evidence, photos, texts, and her secret schedule, and now I was ready to use it. First, I made a copy of everything. I didn't trust her not to find a way to delete it or spin some story to save herself. I wanted to be prepared for every angle. Then, I crafted a message, nothing overt, just enough to let her know I had the upper hand. I was careful to keep it vague, but pointed enough to make her realize I was onto her. That morning, I left her a note on the kitchen table. Simple, direct. "We need to talk. Things are about to change." I didn't sign it. Didn't want her to know I was the one behind it. I just wanted her nerves to tighten, to know I was in control now. When she left for work, I went straight to her email account again, just to see if she'd made any moves to cover her tracks. Sure enough, she tried to delete some of the incriminating messages, but I'd already got backups. I also sent a carefully worded email from a burner account to her boss, detailing what I knew, hinting that I had enough proof to blow everything wide open. I kept it professional, cold, almost robotic. I wanted him to know I was serious. Then I did something I knew she'd hate, something cold and calculated. I called her boss, left a voicemail without revealing who I was, just telling him that I had some concerns about the affair and the pregnancy. I didn't threaten, but I made it clear. I was watching. If he thought I was bluffing, he'd be in for a surprise. Next, I set my plan into motion. I knew she'd come home that evening, probably nervous, maybe even scared. I wanted her to think I didn't suspect anything yet. So I played the part of the calm, hurt husband, waiting for her with a cup of coffee, pretending I was just trying to keep it all together. When she got in, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. She looked at me, eyes darting around, trying to gauge my mood. I kept my face expressionless, but inside I was boiling. I sat down across from her, my voice even but cold. "I know everything," I said. "Your messages, your plans, your little secret meetings." I paused, watching her flinch. "You thought you could lie forever, huh?" Her voice quivered as she tried to deny, but I cut her off. "Save it. I've got everything I need. The proof is in the files, the messages, the schedule. You're not getting out of this by cover-ups anymore." She looked like she wanted to run, but I kept her rooted with my eyes. "You're leaving tonight," I continued, voice steady. "But not with your boss, not with anyone, because I've got a plan, a perfect one." I paused again, letting the weight settle. "And I want you to know that I'm not just hurt, I'm angry, and I'm done being the fool. You're going to regret ever crossing me." Her face drained of color. "Please," she whispered, tears welling up. "It's not what it looks like, I swear." "Save it," I snapped. "The only thing I care about now is ending this. And you're going to give me what I want." That was the moment I revealed my plan. I told her I contacted a lawyer, that I had enough evidence to destroy her career if I wanted. I told her I'd also made arrangements with a private investigator, someone who could follow her, make sure she didn't try to hide anything. I made sure she understood I was serious, that no amount of tears or pleading would change what was coming. She broke down then, begging me, crying, trying to explain how everything had spiraled out of control. But I didn't listen. I just sat there feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. because I knew I was about to turn her world upside down and there was no going back from this. As she left the house that evening, I packed a small bag for her clothes, some essentials. I left her a note on the door. You can take your lies, your secrets, and your new life, but don't come back. I handed her the keys to her car and I watched her drive away, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time: detachment. That night I closed the door on her chapter of my life. I felt the cold sting of revenge, but also an odd sense of relief. She'd messed with the wrong person, and now she'd see what happens when you betray someone who's been nothing but loyal. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. The silence was deafening, but I knew this was only the beginning. I'd taken the first step and I was ready for whatever came next. Because at the end of the day, justice isn't served by waiting, it's served by action. The fallout hit harder than I expected. I thought I'd feel victorious, that maybe some weight would lift off my shoulders, but honestly it's been a strange mix of relief and emptiness. She's gone, and I got what I wanted: her out of my house, her lies exposed, her secrets laid bare. But the silence left behind feels deafening, like I've shut the door on a chapter of my life that I'll never get back. The first few days after she left, I stayed busy. I couldn't let myself dwell too long on what I'd lost, not yet. Instead, I kept my focus on the plan I'd put in motion. I'd hired a private investigator to follow her, just to see if she'd try to make a move or hide something. That was part of my insurance, something I could hold on to if she tried spinning stories, or worse, if she was planning to run. I also made a point of talking to my lawyer again. She was pregnant, she said. That was her story and I'd have to deal with it, but I knew better than to trust her version. I was prepared for whatever legal battle might come, whether it was about custody or her claims. I'd gotten copies of everything: texts, emails, the schedule she'd been hiding, and I was ready to use every bit of it. Meanwhile, I kept my distance. No calls, no texts. I didn't want her to think I was desperate or still trying to chase her down. I just watched. The investigator confirmed she'd been staying with her boss, going to appointments and meeting with some lawyer of her own. Nothing crazy, but enough to keep me reassured that I'd done the right thing. She wasn't hiding in some corner, planning her escape. But the truth, it's eating at me. I keep replaying those moments: the way she looked, how her voice trembled when she begged me, the lies she told herself. I feel like I've lost more than just a wife. I've lost who I thought she was, who she really was beneath all the masks. That realization hits hard some nights when the house is silent and I'm alone with my thoughts. People keep asking me if I feel guilty or if I miss her. Honestly, not really. I feel more angry than anything. Angry at her for betraying me, yes, but also angry at myself for ever trusting her so blindly. I should seen the signs. I should known. One night I finally sat down and looked at her old pictures. Those memories, our vacations, her smile, the way she used to look at me, felt like a punch to the stomach. I remembered the good times, the promises we made, the dreams we shared. But now I see it all as a lie. A carefully crafted illusion she kept up while she was busy planning her escape. I'm not enough to think this is over. I know she's still out there, probably trying to figure out her next move. She's pregnant now, she told me during that last call, and I can't help but wonder, what does she really want? Is she planning to keep the baby and start over, or is she trying to disappear completely? Whatever her plan is, I refuse to be again. I've learned my lesson, so I've made some changes. I've started seeing a therapist, trying to process what happened. I don't talk about her much. What's the point? But I need to get my head straight to figure out what's next for me. I've also started focusing on my career again, throwing myself into work, trying to rebuild my stability. Because if she's trying to run from her mistakes, I need to make sure I don't get caught in the crossfire. And I've decided that I'll be prepared. If she comes back, I'll be ready. Not with anger, but with clarity. I want to rebuild my life, stronger than before, and I refuse to be dragged into her chaos. I've already started the process of closing every door she might try to open again. The biggest lesson I've learned is that trust isn't given lightly anymore. It's earned, and once broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. I trusted her with my heart, my future, and she took that for granted, but I'm not going to let her destroy me. Not entirely. Right now I feel like I'm in the aftermath of a storm, wounded, battered, but still standing. That's what matters. I might be broken, but I'm still here. And I know deep down I'll come out the other side stronger, not because I want revenge for revenge's sake, but because I finally see the truth. And sometimes that's all you need to finally move on. The days have blurred into one another since she left. I've done my best to bury the chaos and move forward, but honestly, there's a strange clarity now that I didn't have before. I see things differently, what I tolerated, what I overlooked, and how blind I was to the signs. The betrayal cut deep, but it also opened my eyes to the kind of person I need to be: stronger, more cautious, less naive. I finally took the concrete step I knew was necessary. I handed over the keys to her apartment and filed the paperwork for a divorce. Sitting in the lawyer's office, I watched her name get crossed out, her future with me officially over. The weight of that moment hit me, but at the same time I felt a strange sense of relief. It was over, done. I was reclaiming my life from the chaos she'd thrown into it. When I dropped her keys on the table and told her that was the end, I saw the shock in her eyes. She thought she could walk away, hide behind her pregnancy and lies, but I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I'd already set everything in motion: evidence handed over to my lawyer, the investigation, the message I sent her boss. She had no idea I'd already won the battle even before the final papers were signed. As she left that day, I watched her walk out the door knowing she'd never come back. There was no regret, no lingering attachment, only that hard, cold sense of closure. I realized I'd been carrying this weight for months, maybe years, and now that it was gone, I felt lighter than I had in a long time. It's like I'd been carrying a heavy stone that suddenly shattered into pieces. I don't pretend I'm fully healed. The betrayal still stings, and the trust I once had is gone for good, but I refuse to let her define me anymore. I'm focusing on what I can control: my career, my health, my future. I've learned that revenge isn't about hurting her, not really. It's about reclaiming my dignity and ensuring I never get caught in this trap again. Looking back, I see all the red flags I ignored: the subtle lies, the secretive glances, the way she was always cautious about her phone. I wish I'd seen it sooner. But I also realize now that I was blinded by love, so eager to believe everything was perfect that I overlooked the cracks. No more. There's this strange peace I feel now, like I've finally taken control of my story. The pain will fade, the wounds will heal, and someday I'll be able to look back without that sinking feeling in my stomach. I don't regret the ending. I regret not seeing the truth sooner, but I'm glad I finally did. Most important of all, I learned a harsh but valuable lesson. Loyalty isn't guaranteed, and trust has to be earned anew every day. If someone betrays you once, it's on them. But if you allow it to break you, that's on you too. So I'm moving forward, not with hostility or bitterness, but with clarity. I'll rebuild what was broken and learn to be more cautious with my heart. Because in the end, knowing the truth, no matter how painful, is what sets you free. And I finally feel free.